Hey guys, this is Will with more videos. Welcome back to the channel. This video will be on Survivor's Big 3, now Big 4. Um, you know, or we could call them the Mount Rushmore group. And I'm going to explain why they're the top group in the show, because a lot of people don't understand that, or get confused by it. It's not like opinion, it's based on like statistics and how many days you've been on the island, you know how many challenges you won, that sort of thing. So the big the original big three are Rob Mariano, Sandra Diaz Twine, and Parvati Shallow. And since Tony won Winners at War, he is now part of that group, which is why we should now probably call it the Mount Rushmore group, um, because it's no longer three of them; it's now four of them. Now, what you have to do to qualify for this group is you have to basically get to the finals in Survivor twice. So basically, sitting there twice, and you have to, have at least gotten there with a significant shot to win. So like Russell, even though he's a two-time finalist, he was dragged there both times, or at least one of the times. Samoa is up for debate, but yeah. So you have to have a legitimate shot of winning, and you know most most of the of that group either is considered to be a two-time winner by default or a legitimate one. And the reason why I say that is Tony and Sandra are legitimate ones because they legitimately won the game twice, right? Um, you know, Sandra and Pearl Islands and Heroes versus Villains, and then Tony in Winners at War and Kagyan. So they have both legitimately won the game twice. Now you have Rob and Parv, who got to the finals aggressively twice, and who has gotten there, but has only won one because because of a few iffy jury decisions. Which the jury is the jury, but they have basically the unofficial record of winning twice. So Rob got to the finals in All Stars next to Amber, which technically he won because he married her and they had the money. So technically he won that one, even though he came in second, and he probably should have won that one because the jury was just bitter at him and didn't really want to give him the money, because even though he played better than them, they thought he was a snob at that point, right? So they didn't want to give him the money. So that's his unofficial win. And Parvati's is Heroes versus Villains, where she lost to Sandra by about one vote or two. So, and the reason why that's her unofficial is because some people think that Sandra should have lost that season and Parv should be the two-time winner, because the jury didn't give it to her because they thought that she was connected to the Russells, so they didn't give her the win. And Parv and Rob's official wins are Rob's Redemption Island, where he literally controlled everybody and made them look like idiots. And even though that's four times playing or something like that, that's still impressive to do, and it's amazing that you're able to do that. Which is basically why he's titled the king of Survivor. Why some people think that even though Tony won twice, he should still be considered the top player. And if you look at all the rankings, he is. And then Parv won Nicaragua, which is fans versus favorites. where she literally got the top player to give her immunity and then vote, you know, him out immediately after giving, immunity up. That's how dangerous she is in the social game, and that's how that's that's what the type of game that you need to play to consider, to be considered part of this group. Is you need to play aggressively and fast, and you need to have control, whether behind the scenes or in front of the scenes. Like Rob and Tony could be said to have aggressive upfront gameplays, right? Sandra and Parv, not so much. I mean, Parv can still hold her own in challenges, but Sandra can't hold her own in challenges, and she's kind of behind the scenes. So, there's two different game styles here. In fact, when they were three of them, I kind of considered it to be like, each one of them held a pillar, or was the representative of a pillar of Survivor. So outlast, outwit, outplay. So basically, outlast would be Sandra, because she didn't really, anyone but me, making sure that she was, the last one standing. Outwit would either be Rob or Parv, but I would give it to Parv a bit, because she's more sneaky and she trades some things and makes deals with people and kind of slides under the radar when it comes to that. And then Rob would be outplay because he's very good at challenges. So he can play at challenges, and he can also be very socially persuasive. So, I mean, he could either be in either one of those categories, but I'll give him the outplay because I think Parv is better at that. And, the reason why people think that some of these players don't deserve to be here is because of how many times they had to play, or how many times they had to win or whatever. But it's purely statistics. So if I were to pick a characteristic of Tony that I would have to have him represent, even though we already picked three of for the three of them, I would say outwit, because outwitting 20 other winners is a very hard task. Now it's not as hard as you may think, because he had 3 targets going in. See, that's the problem with being a part of this group, because if Tony comes back to play and now that he's a part of this group, he's going to be singled out and thrown out the door. Because at the beginning of Winners at War, you saw Sandra, Parv, and Rob all go back to back to back to back. And that's mainly because nobody wanted to play with that group anymore, and because Tony wasn't a part of that group, he wasn't really singled out yet. Which is what gave him the opportunity to win. But anyone that thinks Rob, Parv, or Sandra were going to win this season was pretty much fooling themselves, because no one's going to let them get to the end because of just their status and their top ranks. I mean, would you really want to mess with the first ranked, second ranked, and third ranked player in the world? Now, here's how I would rank those 4. I mean, there's all sorts of rankings and stuff, but and it's no doubt that there's the top 4 players in the world right now, but it's a debate on where those 4 lie. I would actually put Sandra at 4th, because while she's sneaky, she doesn't really do much in challenges, and she's kind of like just laying low and letting other people do her dirty work, which I don't find to be very appealing. I find it to just be, very boring per se, right? And I feel like Tony's in the 3rd spot, because while he did win Winners at War, you have to know that number one, he didn't really compete against Rob or Parv, right? Because they got voted out before the merge. And number 2, he played with big targets being able to hide behind them. Even though he was a big target himself, they were basically given 3 free votes. So because the other status. So I don't think that, even though, he played an aggressive game, I don't really think that Rob and Parv should be put down at third, or lower than Tony because of that. In fact, if you were to look at the fan favorite poll that Russell did a few weeks ago, the number 1 spot goes to Parv and the number 2 spot goes to Rob. And I have a feeling they're going to hold on to those number 1 and number 2 spots for a long time. Now, the second one is Parv because, number 1, she's not as aggressive. And she didn't really control an entire tribe and make a fool of them. No, as Rob did. And the reason I say it is, even though it was with mostly newbies and everything, a 4-time player should be an immediate target, and you should get them out now because they know what they're doing. They've proven they know what they're doing. They've proven that they're entertaining. They've proven that all this other stuff, and you should know to get rid of them. And the other thing is, while Parv has played aggressive games before, she hasn't played the perfect game. I mean, Rob's game is titled The Perfect Game that has ever been played. And by Jeff. And I know that Jeff's a big fanboy of Rob, but that's not... But the debates now for the perfect game, if you were to look at them, are either Kim's game, which, she played against a kind of mediocre boys cast. And it was kind of just, weird and unappealing to watch. So I would actually put her at third. And Tony, I would actually put at second because while he didn't receive a single vote, he didn't really control everything. I mean, he had help, even if he didn't control everything, right? And Rob, I would put him at the first perfect game still because he controlled every aspect. It was you could even say that Redemption Island was his show, and you could basically replace that with the title of Survivor with his tactics and aggressiveness, and especially since his game in All Star should have been a warning to them that he could do that. But he improved on his game in All Stars and basically made it invincible. So that's where I think that stat stands. Now, as to whether those 4 will return again, I think the only way to get them to return is Heroes versus Villains, or 2 or something. Well, not Heroes versus Villains, excuse me. So for season 80, the only way to get them to return is to have an all-winners battle royale, or like an all very strong representative of the rankings, and have 80 contestants go at it on the island at once. So instead of having 2 seasons of Survivor, you would have 1 season that year and 80 contestants, and you would probably have to have a returning twist, even though we all hate those, but we would like to see them. So keep that in there. But but you would have to make it more difficult, like only at the merge, or only at a certain point, or only 2 people get back. But because it's 80 days long, they can do it whenever they want and kind of spread it out. And I think this would be for the 40th anniversary of the show. I think that's the only way you get Tony, Rob, and Parv, and Sandra back, because Rob has basically said on Twitter, on Twitter, Instagram, and everything, he's done. Now, he says he's done, but he said he was done 10 years ago, so we'll see about that. But the point is, there needs to be a big game to catch their attention. In fact, Tony is probably the most likely to return because, he seems to be up for anything, and, he might want to test himself at that level like they did, because he wasn't originally at that level, so he might want to test himself at that level. Parv might be up for another game. I don't think the least likely to return is actually Sandra, because I don't think she would want to play, in her 60s or something like that. And, or 50s or whatever. I don't think she's returning because she quit Edge of Extinction because of that. So I don't think she would want to return. But my money would be on Tony being the first one to return because he seems to be the newbie of the group and doesn't seem to realize that that's a target on his back. So I would actually like to see him return to see if he can do it now that he's at the same level that Rob, Parv, and Sandra are at. Anyway, and you know, we need to send something to Jeff saying that, now that Tony's joined the group, we need to get Tony and Parvati's faces on Mount Rushmore because that would be great. Sandra and Rob already have one because of Island of the Isles, but I think it's a great way to to celebrate the pinnacle of the game and celebrate the top 4 slots. Now, I might do a ranking video of the top 10 if you guys are interested. Let me know. Right after this, I will be doing a review of Excel World Volume 2. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye. Have a nice day.